Orla Comedy on LMFM.
Now, a couple of comments. Tommy from Dundalk says we should not keep the Seanad. We already have the Dáil to discuss and debate issues. It's costing us money that the country can ill afford. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to that item today, Tommy, but do listen out tomorrow. We will try and cover it tomorrow. And another comment about the Quinn family, and that's Paddy from Inniskeen. It's wrong that the Quinn family are facing jail. They gave employment to over 3,000 people and were held in high regard by the community. All they did was purchase shares in Anglo. Well, I don't think that's quite all they did, but we might get to that story later on in the week as well. Now, over the next few weeks, we'll be running a series of interviews here on LMFM every morning with people who can be described as thought leaders. And that is people who have strong views in the areas of business, politics, social entrepreneurship, education, or who have in some way made a difference, you could say, to the world around them. And we'll have some really interesting people for you to meet over the few weeks of the series, starting today with Marie Byrne. And Marie joins us now in studio. You're very welcome, Marie. Marie is the founding director of the Ashton Group International. She's the director of Parent to Parent Australia, and she's also an Irish representative for Olympic and World Championship Handball Association. Many handles there. Marie, the rise of drug use in Ireland is something that we're all aware of now, but something you've been campaigning for many years, since you founded the Ashling Foundation in 1988. What triggered that for you? What got you started on the great journey you've been on?
I think in the same way as most people get involved in that, some situation happens. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, and we were all growing up, in the same area, same things going on, and we didn't realise that the person was developing a problem with alcohol, it was at the time. And so we, this is where a lot of experience comes from, is that you do a lot of things hoping it will make a difference, but you're actually probably doing things that are helping the problem to continue. And it's great to have a bit of ground knowledge on it. So everybody was covering for the person and, making excuses for them and all kinds of things. And it turns out really that's the opposite you need to do. And when we discovered that was the truth, it was very hard to ever go back on that. And when you deal with the truth in a home and you bring up situations, you have an opportunity either to deal with them or to make a decision around them. But when you live in a state of constant lying or in constant fear, it's very difficult to make a healthy decision in that situation. You're
describing, I suppose, what can be described as typical facilitating behaviour in a home where there is drug abuse or alcohol abuse or whatever, and everybody fusses around, oh, mum's feeling tired today, or mum's a little bit whatever. There's all these things going on and nobody's dealing with the issue. Isn't that correct?
It is. It's a very, very normal human behaviour. And so people get wound up about, did we make a mistake? Did we do the wrong thing? And they spend too much time concentrating on what they feel they didn't do instead of looking at what they can do. People have a tendency to step on glass around somebody who's using drugs or alcohol because they're afraid they'll make it worse, or maybe some extreme situation will happen. But unfortunately, some of the extreme situations that are happening when people are living at home, not when they're on the street.
And this incident that happened in your own life with somebody in your own circle obviously made you confront this. And how did you then say, I need to start an organisation and really tackle this issue?
Well, I was fascinated by the idea that you could be doing the complete opposite to what you need to do to actually get on in life and not realise it. And it's a bit like looking at a bottle and seeing it half empty when it's actually half full. Such is your perception of what's going on in life for you. So I think when that realisation came about, it really was, it's like opening a door. And I think that's what it's like for people that I meet who are in prevention. Drug prevention will be one of our biggest areas. But it applies to sport, anything. Everyone's going to have a problem. That's not the issue. It's how you respond to it. That's the issue. And if you can do something different, you'll change your situation.
Anne-Marie, you've given your life to this. You've set up this organisation and it's grown and grown. How has that impacted on you personally?
Well, I have a lot more lines on my face than I had as I was impacted on me. I think that what it's done is, I think it's been a privilege, actually, because I've seen some of the most rewarding situations ever that I could have imagined. There's areas of it, yes, I wish it was easier, because there's times I just love to be really lazy. I'd love if we had just been given all the funding that we needed to do a job we knew how to do, but that's probably been the biggest frustration. But it's a bit like people who train top athletes, and that when you see someone evolve into who they can be, I mean, you can't put a price on that ever. A mother has that with her child, seeing them grow up and know that you've done the best job you can. Well, it's kind of like that, I suppose, And there's other days when, it's tough and you're trying to think, how do you stop some of the young people from continuing drug use, knowing that there's very few facilities around them and maybe parents are not aware of what they can do, and that it's going to get worse for them.
How does the Ashling Foundation actually work on the ground? And are there branches around the country, or how does it actually work in practice?
No, we tried that once. It's not something I would repeat because, quite honestly, and this is not trying to be negative about Ireland, but because it's a smaller island, we are quite territorial. So I find it's better to, nowadays, as you get more mature, allow people to make decisions in their own communities about what they're doing. Years ago we tried to set it up, but you get into all sorts of politics and that, and I find that very boring in life. I'm not very good as a politician on those ways. So it's better to support people with training or information, or give them the tools that they can use. Tools is a very broad word, but basically it's like sitting down and saying, is what you're doing working? If it's not, don't keep repeating it. So what else can you do instead? You could apply that to any situation in your life, not just drugs and alcohol. And
are you focused very much on the educational side of things, or do you run rehab centres, or what way does it work?
Yeah, we have a recovery programme also, and that's probably what has kept us very grounded over the years, because we'll see at the coalface exactly what the situation is. And I suppose because I've worked abroad quite a lot, you see the same things about people, whether you're in Australia or whether you're in Europe or somewhere else. People just want to be happy. They want to be able to come home in the evening and be happy with whoever they're with, and that their family is safe. And basically they have very similar situations going on in their homes, and so we try and come in and support them, maybe getting out of very serious situations. A lot more talk of suicide these days, and that's sad, because that means that people that they have a sense of a lack of hope, that they don't know that you can actually have a better day tomorrow, which you will have. It'll not be, and I would always say to people, when your day is really bad, and I do this myself, when your day is really bad, don't get up and think, oh my goodness, in 10 years' time it's going to be like this, because that's projecting your problem 10 years down the road and making your life really miserable, thinking that way. So you've got to pull it back to today. What can you do today that's different? And leave tomorrow, that'll take care of itself. Just deal with today.
Do you despair, Marie, of our society ever tackling the drug issue when you see what happened at the Phoenix Park last weekend, and the drug abuse and the crystal meth all over the place and the violence? And it's terribly worrying for parents letting their kids off to these concerts. If you think that's where our society is going, that's what's going to happen.
I think there have been times when if I concentrate on it, I find it more frightening even than anything else. I think, if we're working at the coalface and see what's going on, and people saw a touch of that at the Phoenix Park, you can imagine what we're seeing on a daily basis, and the situations that we're aware of, whether it's in homes or at other events, and the destruction that goes with a lot of severe use of alcohol at the moment. That's a really massive increase in binge drinking for young people, plus prescription medication is off the Richter scale for me anyway. So there's a responsibility with doctors and families, and always turning to the tablet. But the same old story, they're relying on things outside of themselves to fix the problem. Do I despair? I suppose I'm probably generally an optimistic person. When I'm having a day when I'm not up on that peak, I'll definitely be very flat, because I get very frustrated that more people aren't getting stuck in and making a difference, who could.